Grammar matters. Language is not just about words, but about how those words are put together, how the language is constructed. I have a friend who posted on Facebook very proud of her offspring getting into the university of choice. Now, when born, the child was named Rebecca, but now goes by Alex, and her preferred pronouns are they and them. But when I read the post, what made me ill, turning my stomach, was the pronoun antecedent disagreement. Quote, I am so proud of this kid. They've been working their tail off and were accepted to all 5 schools they applied to. Next year, on to Hobart and William Smith colleges to study chemistry, end quote. And why is it okay to have were plural if they is supposed to be singular? Granted, subject-verb agreement is important, but that just indicates that they is and always has been plural, even though in this moment it is referring to a singular person, quote, this kid. So not only pronoun antecedent agreement or disagreement, but subject-verb agreement and disagreement. And I thought the American language was confusing enough as it was. And I don't know if you remember, but we were taught to use he or she when referring to a non-specific or generic single individual in writing or speech, or even his or hers. When we learned language, the use of they and them to refer to a single individual, even a generic single individual, was bad grammar, bad use of the language. Trust me, I'm the daughter of an English teacher, and I could not get away with anything remotely so distasteful without reprimand. Thus, that is what made me sick from this entire post. So the very thing we were taught was bad language, the generations after us have been taught is the correct way to use language. We are confusing our language to the point of ridiculousness. One of the most troubling arguments or defenses is that it doesn't hurt anything to call someone by their preferred pronouns. Not only does this bending to the false beliefs of individuals cut into the very nature of truth and meaning, but when the pronouns are plural, referring to singular, we are indeed in a world of hurt. Not only is there no rule of law when it comes to policy and regulations like we spoke about earlier, but now all the rules of reading and writing and speaking can just as easily be thrown out the window. All these pronouns, especially they, them for a single person, are actively working to destroy not just the mental health of people, but again, still the very fabric of this country. But we have also replaced sentences with phrases or emojis, which is now a form of hieroglyphics only half of the adult population truly understands, and the other half finds no need to learn. Even if you can tell what the emoji is a picture of, there's probably a hidden meaning behind it that no one over 50 probably even wants to know anything about. And we have minimized the importance of punctuation. Or punctuation means something completely different than it used to. Whereas we were taught to write professional letters and then that kind of translated into professional emails, the rest of the world, the next generation, cannot string a sentence together, but is quite proficient at the use of emojis in text messages. Whereas I thought maybe emojis would add nuance to the written word, the emoji professionals have gotten rid of all of that kind of nuance by getting rid of the word in its entirety. However, if you're still using words, don't put a period at the end of your text message, or they might, like my daughter told me, think you are angry or being passive aggressive. I had no idea. Daughter of an English teacher, I was forever using proper punctuation. We have minimized the importance of punctuation, but where that comma goes can change the entire meaning of a sentence, as in the silly example of, let's eat grandma. We cannot have a shared language if the importance of sentence construction Syntax, pronoun antecedent agreement, and punctuation are downplayed, and modern hieroglyphics serve as a code to escape the cognizance of those who are still held back by old, outdated traditions. Is language part of the history that needs to be abolished? We actually get back to this idea. Not just the idea that history must be abolished, but the idea that traditions and those who hold on to them, even the tradition of language, are the immoral ones, the bad ones. Tradition is bad, and the people who hold on to tradition, those are the bad people. Those holding us back from progress. So we actually revisit these ideas again in chapter 14 at a deeper level. Context matters. Words have definitions, and syntax and punctuation convey meaning, just like microexpressions embody the nuance of the words themselves when spoken. The meaning of words is also related to the context of those words. We cannot truly understand Dante's message in his Inferno without understanding the historical, political, philosophical, geographical, religious, and literary context within which he was writing. The meaning of words is also coded in the relationship of words to one another. This is why it is so easy to take something out of context. What do the sentences before and after say? How do they speak into the meaning of the sentence? What about the subject of the paragraph, of the chapter, of the book? The meaning of words, and thus the importance of language, cannot be fully understood outside its proper and comprehensive context. So, how is it then that Americans, even though they hailed from all over Europe originally and the globe eventually, once had a shared understanding of the meanings of words? How could we agree upon language and values in the first place if e pluribus unum includes many languages? We came to a shared understanding of meaning thanks to the Bible. In fact, one could argue that the Bible is our shared understanding of meaning and actually equate the two. In our Western culture, in Western civilization, the first book was the Bible. The word Bible even means book. It wasn't just the first and only book for a while, but the first published or printed book. Not only that, but within this single book was an entire library of other books. But even though it was the first printed and mass distributed book in Europe, it was not the last book printed or created. As noted above, some words are dependent on other words, and the juxtaposition of those words along with their punctuation and understanding of grammar. Likewise, some ideas are dependent on other ideas as they place the ideas in fuller context. And the more ideas dependent on any one idea, the more fundamental that one idea is. That single idea is an essential support to all the ideas that depend upon it. Fundamental texts of a civilization are thus the texts upon which most other texts of that civilization depend. For the Western world, that includes Shakespeare and Milton and Dante, because their works are part of the Western canon that has influenced or laid a foundation for all other literary works. And their base is the Bible. That is how we get to shared meaning, even though the Western world consisted of several diverse languages. We are all perceiving the word through the same lens because our entire culture and language, its context at least, is set upon the same foundation. So, as Jordan Peterson said, it isn't that the Bible is true, it's that the Bible is the precondition for the manifestation of truth, end quote. Shared language comes from a shared meaning of language, which allows everyone in a society to perceive the obvious in the same way. We see things in the same way, laying the foundation for an understanding of the obvious, laying the foundation for natural law, which lays the foundation for shared culture and shared values. An attack on language is an attack on the Bible, which not only solves the problem of perception, but serves as a basis for shared Western values. Thus, As we endure attacks on shared Western values, we also see this as an attack on language. And once again, the vicious cycle feeds itself, which is why if one pillar topples, it takes out the other one, and the entire civilization comes tumbling down.